I had poured 8 years of my life, every spare dollar, and countless sleepless nights into building my dream. A quiet lakeside cabin tucked deep into the pines. It was my sanctuary, a place where I could finally breathe. But just when I thought I could finally enjoy the fruits of my labor, a nearby HOA, one I never joined, never wanted anything to do with, decided they owned my land. They had no idea who they were messing with for most of my adult life. I dreamed of having a place, far away from city noise and HOA nonsense. I bought a parcel of land off an old logger back in 2014, 10 acres hugging a quiet lake. Untouched, wild, and perfect. It wasn't easy. I was working 2 jobs back then, slowly stacking enough money to fund materials. Every weekend, I'd drive hours out of town, haul lumber by hand, and slowly piece together the cabin myself. What started as a rough wooden shell became something truly beautiful. By year 4, I had running water from a well I dug myself, a wood-burning stove, solar panels for light, and handcrafted furniture inside. By year 8, it was perfect. Cedar siding, a dock stretching into the lake, and even a small workshop built next to the cabin. This wasn't just a building. It was a part of me. And then right as I finally finished, the trouble started. It was a chilly spring morning. I was sitting on the porch sipping coffee, watching the fog roll across the water, when a group of 3 strangers walked up. My dirt drive. They weren't hikers. They were dressed in matching polos with a gaudy logo on the chest. "Good morning," one of them called out with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We're from the Clearwater Lakes HOA." I frowned. Clearwater Lakes. That was a development nearly 3 miles down the road, where wealthy retirees built cookie-cutter houses with boat garages. I had nothing to do with them, the man continued. "We wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood and let you know you'll need to start paying dues. The HOA covers lake maintenance, security, and community events. It's mandatory." Laughed, genuinely laughed. "You're mistaken. This land isn't part of Clearwater Lakes. I bought it long before you built. Those houses." The woman with him pulled out a folder. "According to our maps, your parcel falls under our jurisdiction." I took the folder, scanned it, and nearly spit out my coffee. Their map conveniently stretched their neighborhood boundaries several miles past the last house, right onto my land. "Yeah, no," I said, handing it back. "You don't own me. Have a nice day." I thought that would be the end of it. It was only the beginning. The letter started a week later. "Notice of non-compliance. Mandatory dues. $450 per month. Failure to comply will result in fines and legal action." Every envelope came stamped with the HOA logo. I ignored the first few, figuring they'd realize their mistake. But then I came back from a supply run to find a bright orange violation notice nailed to my cabin door. The list of supposed offenses was absurd. Unauthorized structure not approved by the HOA. Dock length exceeds HOA guidelines. Improper landscaping. My cabin was surrounded by wild pines and natural meadowgrass. That was the point. My blood boiled. This was harassment. I decided to confront them. I drove to the Clearwater Lakes Clubhouse, a glass front building surrounded by golf carts and SUVs. Inside, a group of neatly dressed board members sat around a long table. When I walked in, one of them, a sharp-nosed man with slick-back hair, looked up and said, "You must be Mr. Carter. We've been expecting you." "Good," I said, "'cause I'm here to tell you to leave me alone. I'm not in your HOA. Stop sending letters." He leaned back in his chair with a smug smile. "Your cabin falls within Clearwater Lake's extended boundary. We voted last year to expand coverage to include the North Shore. You can't just vote to take someone else's land." He tapped his pen against the table. "You'll find the law isn't so black and white. If you want to avoid thousands in fines, you'd be wise to cooperate." That's when I realized they weren't going to stop. They wanted my land. Over the next few months, the harassment escalated. I'd find strangers snooping near my dock, inspecting the water line. HOA security trucks started parking at the edge of my drive, watching me with binoculars. Once, I came back to the cabin and found a notice posted on a wooden stake in the yard. Property subject to lien for unpaid. Dues, that night I sat at my kitchen table, fists clenched. 8 years of sweat, 8 years of sacrifice, and these people thought they could just take it. No, not happening. I started digging. I pulled out my deed, my survey maps, every scrap of paperwork from when I bought the land. Sure enough, the boundaries were crystal clear. My parcel was independent, never subject to Clearwater Lakes or any future development. I hired a property attorney, sharp guy named Alvarez, who looked over the HOA's claims and shook his head. They don't have a legal leg to stand on. They're counting on intimidation. Most people cave because they don't want the hassle. It's not me. We drafted a cease and desist letter and sent it to the HOA. We warned them that any further trespassing would result in police involvement. For a moment, it seemed to work. The letter slowed. The security trucks disappeared. Then the lawsuit hit. One summer morning, I was served papers. Clearwater Lakes, HOA v. Carter. They were suing me for unpaid dues, violations, and encroachment on HOA common lakefront property.
Encroachment?
My dock was on my own shoreline. Court was brutal. The HOA showed up with high-priced lawyers and glossy maps showing my cabin sitting inside their boundaries. They claimed my land purchase was invalid, that the old logger who sold it to me never had proper rights. But Alvarez came prepared, pulled out the original county records, surveyor notes, and even testimony from the logger's family. Piece by piece, he dismantled their case. I'll never forget the moment the judge looked over the documents, then glared at the HOA's attorney. This cabin is not, and never has been, part of Clearwater Lakes. This lawsuit borders on frivolous harassment. I won, but the HOA wasn't finished. After losing in court, they doubled down. My dock was vandalized one night, boards ripped out and scattered on the shore. My solar panels were shot out with a pellet gun. Someone even tried to break into my cabin while I was away. I installed cameras, caught everything. The footage showed 2 men in Clearwater Lakes security uniforms trespassing on my property. That was the nail in the coffin. I handed the footage to Alvarez. He wasted no time. We filed a countersuit for harassment, trespassing, property damage, and emotional distress. This time, the HOA board members were the ones squirming in court. My attorney laid it all out. The bogus fines, the trespassing, the vandalism, all documented. All undeniable. When the judge asked if I wanted damages, Alvarez smiled and said, "We're seeking the maximum allowable." The HOA ended up owing me $175,000 in damages and legal fees. On top of that, the court ordered them to cease all contact with me permanently. Word spread fast. Clearwater Lakes homeowners weren't happy to learn their dues had been wasted on a vendetta. Several board members resigned in disgrace. The president, the smug, slick-haired man who first threatened me, was voted out. Meanwhile, I used part of the settlement money to upgrade my cabin, new dock, better solar panels, a reinforced fence along the property line with cameras that streamed straight to my phone. But the best upgrade of all? Peace. For the first time in years, I could sit on my porch, coffee in hand, and watch the lake without scanning the tree line for intruders. Building that cabin took 8 years of my life. It was supposed to be my escape from the chaos of the world. I never imagined that chaos would come knocking in the form of a power-hungry HOA. But if they taught me anything, it's this. You don't back down when someone tries to bully you. Off your own land? That cabin is mine. My sanctuary. My victory. And thanks to one stubborn fight, it always will be. For more interesting and heart-touching stories, hit the subscribe button now.